Hello Acolytes, and welcome back to After Plague. Today I am doing a color palette challenge. I really enjoy doing color palette challenges when I want to draw, but I'm not necessarily inspired in any one direction. So it gives me a starting point for where I want to take an illustration. I will go onto a website that generates color palettes like Coolers, or I'll go to Pinterest, which is where I got this particular color palette from, and immediately it gave me gothy, vampire-y vibes. And so I decided to draw this cute little vampire girl, definitely drinking some wine, only wine, definitely not anything other than wine. So I am actually really happy with how this one turned out. I think she's really, really cute, and I do really enjoy certain parts of this illustration. I really like the water, the wine that's sloshing out of the glass. I feel like it's got some good movement to it, and I like how it turned out and how the splashes turned out. I also really love her hair in this illustration, and the line art is one of my favorite line arts that I've ever done. I might make it a coloring page. Would you guys want something like that? Like a coloring page? I don't know. But if you do, just let me know, because I'm happy to upload it as a coloring page. For her outfit, I wanted to lean into that like gothic clothing attire, but make it sexy, right? So I gave her these like big poofy sleeves with these cute little wrist cuffs, and then for her bodice I gave her this like corset. So it definitely is definitely given her a little bit of sex appeal, I would say. I also thought, because there was so much blank space on her like neck above her chest, that she needed some kind of necklace. So I found this like beautiful reference of this necklace that looked like it was dripping with blood, because all of the gems were rubies, and I thought that was really cute. Initially, I wanted there to be like this strand of blood between her finger and her teeth, but I don't think blood has that texture where it can like stretch that far, so I ended up not doing it. I'm not sure if I regret that. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments, if it would have looked nicer to have that like blood strand, because I can always go back and change it, right? So let me know if you would prefer the connection between her mouth and her fingers. I think it comes across as looking a little bit too sticky. I used my typical sort of brush for the line art. It's the dry ink brush on Procreate. It's a default Procreate brush. I just love the texture that it gives me, and of course I do hatching and stuff as well with this brush to add even more texture, so that's something that I'm really enjoying incorporating into my artwork. I wanted to give her some really long, dangerous looking nails, and I think they look great. I really like them. I wish maybe I made her fangs bigger, but if they were any bigger, I don't know, I feel like maybe they'd get too comical, I guess, is how I would say that. I had a really good time doing this line art. Again, it was super fun. I put a ton of time and detail into the hair, and I think it turned out so cute. Doing hair is one of my favorite things to do, especially in line art, because I really like following the flow of the hair and adding texture to it as well, these like little texturizing strokes. It's definitely one of my favorite things to do when I'm illustrating. This is the first time though that I think I've ever given a character straight bangs, because I always feel like they look super chunky, super blocky. I have a hard time, like if you look at the lines, they're not closed. So when I'm coloring, I have a difficult time determining where to stop my color versus the hair. Where to stop the color of the skin, that is, versus the hair. But I think I did pretty well with this one, and I think these bangs look nice, very fluffy, voluminous, that kind of thing. And I might want to draw more characters like that in the future. I really enjoyed these sleeves. I don't know what this material would be. Maybe like a chiffon or a tulle type of material. But I really like how it looks, puffed up. And I also really like the wrist cuffs. I would love to draw another character that has these cute little wrist cuffs. I think they're adorable. I'm not entirely sold on the roses I put in her hair. I felt like there needed to be something up there to draw your eye upwards, and so my first thought was, of course, flowers, and the hair reference that I was using had flowers in it as well, so I was like, oh yeah, that's cute, that's cute. But I'm not sure if they go with the rest of the illustration. I just don't know what else I would have added, you know? Maybe I should have done like a flower pattern on her corset, because I do end up putting a pattern on that corset. It was just looking a little blank compared to the rest of the detailing. But gosh, I don't know. I'm not sure the flowers fully go with the rest of the illustration. I do think they're kind of cute, even though I was thinking to myself while I was drawing this, I was looking at the one in the back, and I was like, my god, that looks like an AI generated flower. I suck so bad at drawing roses. I feel like I vaguely understand what they're supposed to look like, and then I try to draw them, and they always look so weird and flat. So don't make fun of that flower that's in the back, okay? It took me a really long time to do the line art for her hair. Again, because it's so detailed and intricate, so I do jump around a lot from area to area. Something that I really like is the white ring around her pupil. I wanted to give her inhuman looking eyes, and that definitely comes in more with the color by, you know, making them red. But adding this little like glowing ring around her eyes, it almost makes her look like an animal, because you know human eyes don't glow in the dark, but things like dogs or raccoons or cats, their eyes do. So I feel like it almost gives that idea that maybe she's got some night vision, or maybe even something compelling in her eyes, you know, because in some vampire lore, vampires have the ability to compel people. So I don't know, I like it. I think it looks good, and it gives her a little bit more visual interest in her eyes. Something that was a little bit difficult for me as well was achieving transparency on the wine glass. I think the way that I colored it ends up looking good, but I was trying very hard to specifically not over render the wine glass, because I feel like that would have been a very easy way to pull it out of the illustration. I wanted to make sure it stayed in the same style as the rest of the drawing. And so I had to really think about how not to over render that wine glass, and I think I managed to keep it within the style. But again, I'm always happy to hear your feedback and your comments. The only thing I'm not entirely sure about the wine glass is the angle of the top of the liquid. Like, I think it's correct enough that it won't draw any attention, but I don't know. I don't know. I obviously spent a lot of time on that necklace, doing all these little gems. Again, those were another thing I had to be really careful not to over-render when I got to coloring it, because I feel like I could have spent hours, you know, rendering each gem to be perfect, but they're so tiny in comparison to the rest of the illustration that it just would not have been worth my time. I do think that they are maybe a little bit too vertical, and they should have sloped a little bit more downward, a little bit more diagonally to follow the path of her chest. I think it's such a small thing, but I don't know. I think the necklace was a good idea. I'm just not sure that the execution was exactly where I wanted it to be. I don't know. I thought about going in and like warping it so that it would follow the flow of her neck a little better. It's hard when you're actively drawing to think about the way that gravity would be affecting things. So, I don't know. I think I'm nearly done with my line art here, so we can finally get into the color section of the color palette challenge. Oh, one more thing about the line art is that I did these like cute little blushies on her cheeks, and that actually became an issue for me later on because I think it's really cute in line art, but when I wanted to actually add some blush to her cheeks, I don't know, it just went so against her skin tone. So here I am, finally done with the line art, and we can get started on the, oh, I forgot the blood. What am I talking about? Yeah, so I did all of the blood in black just because I wanted to have this as a full black and white illustration before starting coloring in case I wanted to make a coloring page. So I did all of the blood in black and then just added a clipping mask on top of it. And now we're finally getting into the color. So again, this is the color palette. It's got 6 colors in it. The thing is, I did change it ever so slightly because I used that black color as a line art. So I didn't want the darkest color to take over the line art, you know? I didn't want to lose all of that beautiful detail work in her hair, so I turned that black color instead into just a darker gray. So I started out using the mid-tone color and then slowly went in and added things like that I knew were going to be certain colors. Like I know that the wine, quote unquote, and her eyes and lips are all going to be red. And then I took the lighter gray, not the lightest color, and did her skin tone. But I realized while I was doing that I actually really liked the look of this mid-tone gray on her face and using her skin color as a like highlight. Again, I sort of experimented with that black color, and this is the dark gray that I ended up adding into the palette, is the one that's on her hair. And I feel like it didn't stray too much from the initial challenge, but if you want to say I failed because of that, that's okay. I added some shines on her nails, and I made them the darkest red, and I think I like that better than them being black, but I would also love to know your opinion there. So here I am deciding that I want that dramatic lighting, so I'm going to make most, if not all, of her skin tone this mid-tone gray, and then use the light skin tone color to highlight. Now, I had a lot of struggles with this triangle on her cheek. I know that it's supposed to be there. It's called like the Rembrandt triangle or something. You see it specifically in a lot of Rembrandt's paintings because he painted with this sort of light a lot. I think I ended up with something that looked good, but I have not drawn using this lighting style very often, so I wasn't entirely sure. I do think that the overall effect works, but there are probably a few areas that would need a little bit more light. For most of the rest of the shading, I did actually just use colors in the color palette. My general thought with color palette challenges is if it's something that I could probably layer a couple times, like on a multiply layer, then I think it's fine. But actually these sleeves are just shaded with the darkest red color, and so are the roses, so is the wine. And, you know, I stuck really close to the color palette with this one. I feel like the eyes are really striking now with that ring around them, so I'm very happy with that. I was having a lot of trouble with the blush, as you saw. I'm not sure. I think it looks weird against her like dead white skin tone, but I really wanted it there. I don't know. Maybe I should take it off. I don't know. The hair, I wanted to make sure I didn't over render because there's already so much detail in the line art, so I basically only added highlights to a few sections of the hair and then a much brighter highlight along the very edge. Again, that's all still within the color palette. It's her skin tone, and then the lightest white color is just the same white that's her eyes and her little sleeves. I love her lips. I love that they look so, I guess, wet, juicy. I don't know. I really like the little highlight on the lips, and there's also a little heart on the lips, which I thought was really cute. The detailing on the necklace didn't take a super long time. It doesn't exactly look like metal. I'm not sure what I could have done at that scale to make it more look like metal. Look more like metal, that is. But I do really like how all these gems turned out. Again, they were very quick and dirty because they're quite small, so I didn't want to over render. But I do feel like that they give the illusion of being a gem, from a distance especially. Here I am trying to achieve that transparency with the wine glass. I did have like a couple photos up, but again, I didn't want to over render and make it too realistic. I think where I ended up with it does look good. It looks like a wine glass. And again, the liquid inside, probably if it was blood, it would be a little bit darker colored, but I wanted to stick within the rest of the color palette. I added a little bit more shading in that darker color to the skin, just because I felt like the necklace didn't look like it was resting on her chest. And of course I wanted to add a little bit more shadow in places like under the nose and on the back of the hand. I added in this cute little gothic pattern I found online, and of course I had to add a ton more blood splatter. That's what I decided to do for the background as well, is this nice bright blood splatter color, and again the pattern that's on her shirt in the background as well. So this is the final illustration. Thank you so much for watching. I think it turned out really well, and I think overall this is one of my color palette challenges that has turned out the best, so I'm really pleased with it. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please leave me a like, and if you want to see more from me, subscribe. I'm uploading new videos all the time. Follow me on all my social media to see what I'm up to, get early access to what I'm working on. I am After Plague pretty much everywhere: Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, Goodreads, and I am after_plague on Twitter. If you like my illustrations, there are a lot more of them in my illustrated short horror story collection, Corruption, available now on my website, afterplagueart.myshopify.com. Thank you again so much for watching, and I hope you survive this post-plague world.